WisconsinEye is at the Republican State Convention in Milwaukee. We're interviewing Steve King, the Republican National Committeeman. Steve, thanks for taking time.
You're welcome,
been
Steve.
On the RNC representing Wisconsin for how long, sir?
Well, really, Steve, only about 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, I succeeded Mark Green, who didn't finish out his term, who succeeded Terry Kohler, who didn't finish out his term.
Right. Well, explain the RNC and explain what you and Mary do. You're really Wisconsin's delegates to the RNC?
We're Wisconsin's delegates to the Republican National Committee, liaison, and as you well know, there are 3 representatives from each state chairman and the 2 national committeemen, which makes a committee of 150. Throw in the 3 reps from the territories of the United States, and you have 168 voting members of the Republican National Committee, whose essential function, Steve, is really to every quadrennial, every 4 years, put together a presidential nominating process. That's really by policy or by rule or law the only real function and responsibility of the Republican National Committee. But as we well know, over the years and decades, it's evolved into something more than that, to include raising money and supporting state parties. And that's why it's become even more important to have liaison between Wisconsin and the National Committee. And of course, it doesn't hurt that the immediate past chairman of the Republican Party of Wisconsin is Reince Priebus, who's currently the chairman of the Republican National Committee.
Yes.
And therefore, we're getting a lot of help and assistance from the Republican National Committee.
And you and Mary worked very hard to help Reince get elected.
Yeah, I chaired his campaign to get elected, yes.
And well, I was so intrigued in your speech to the convention. You made it clear that the RNC will be more involved in the process of debates,
yes,
and when your party picks a presidential nominee in 2016. Can you elaborate on that, sir? Because part of the question is, what do you feel went wrong in 2012?
Well, what happened over the years, frankly, Steve, is that it evolved into the campaigns in effect and the networks in effect guiding and directing our nominating process through a whole series of debates that were really designed and developed by the National Media Corps. And we kind of lost control of the process, if you will. So, and it came to an ultimate, to the ultimate, I guess, in 2012, when we had no less than 23 different Republican presidential nominating debates. Put debates in quotes, because I'm not
yes,
sure they were all debates.
So every one of those candidates and their campaigns were the ones signing off on those?
Yeah.
And the RNC was not involved?
We
I'm sorry
weren't
to
involved.
interrupt,
We had no, yes, none.
Okay.
So after that process, Reince, along with some others, decided we got to change this. We got to gain control of our nominating process instead of letting the networks dictate the venue, the time, the moderator, and when. So we will next week. This is not ruled yet, but next week in Memphis at the Republican National Committee spring meeting, we will debate a Rule 10, that will create a new standing committee within the Republican National Committee, which will have the authority, it'll have 13 members elected from the body, which will have the authority to first define what a debate is, not a forum where these people just appear occasionally, but define what a debate is, define the number of debates, define the timing of the debates, and also determine whom shall be the sponsor and whom shall be the moderator. In other words, this isn't going to alienate NBC, CNN, ABC, CBS from applying to sponsor a debate. But we will have set the timing of those, how many of those, and who shall moderate that debate. Assuming that rule is passed next week, which I'm confident it will, and that's why I think I can speak to you, Steve, pretty confidently, we will have gained control then of the number of debates. I can't tell you what the committee might decide once it's been created, but it'll have to decide, I think, by the fall of 14. What is a debate? What constitutes a debate? How many debates are there going to be? And begin talking to prospective sponsors of those debates. And the only way this is going to work then, frankly, is if there's some kind of sanction against the would-be candidates, presidential candidates, on what happens if you do participate in something that is a non-sanctioned debate. And along with the Rule 10 that we're looking to adopt next week, will be a sanction that says if you do in fact participate in a non-RNC committee debate, sanctioned debate, you will not be eligible to participate in any future debates.
Any future debate?
Any future debate.
That amounts to kind of a death penalty, doesn't
Death
it, Mr.
penalty,
King?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
At least in terms of debates.
I understand. Sorry. But what does this do to, there is a formal presidential debate commission that's supposed to be nonpartisan. Does that, would yours work in tandem with them, or would it pretty much say we don't think that model has worked in the past?
It has worked up to a point, but we're in effect saying we are going to take back control of our presidential nominee. Now, the presidential commission is really set up with regard to the Democrat and Republican nominee debates, not necessarily the Republican nominee debates.
As you watched, as I'm sure you did, 23 debates and forums over 2012, what did you see happen with some of your party's best and brightest candidates? Were they, I thought the debates were supposed to eliminate them. Didn't it work?
No. In fact, it worked to the opposite. It encouraged a lot of marginal prospective candidates to join in the debates.
It did.
And we couldn't do anything about it.
You couldn't.
And I think toward the end, frankly, we became a bit of a laughingstock.
Really?
I think so.
Did the 23 debates hurt Mr. Romney, your party's nominee?
There's no question about it in my mind.
How badly, sir?
I don't know how badly, but I think it definitely, he emerged as the best of a bunch.
Yes.
In effect, instead of being, I think, launched earlier. And the other thing is, there's going to be a time frame. We're not going to let these debates string out and out and out and out. There'll be a certain time when they'll be held, from presumably February through May.
It was only a few months ago that Mr. Priebus pretty much told MSNBC, if you continue, we're not going to talk to you about future debates.
Yep.
Do you back Mr. Priebus's statements then?
Well, I think what Ryan was trying to say is that you're going to have to play by our rules. We, as a party, control our debates. And you play by our rules or you don't participate. I'm confident MSNBC, as well as others, CNN, will play by those rules. In fact, there's every indication that they will. The other good thing I'm happy to report to you, Steve, is that Reince has talked to virtually, I think, every prospective Republican presidential interested nominee, and they've all, with one possible exception, they've all endorsed this concept, this process.
What do you think, as a member of the RNC, is an optimum number of Republicans considering running for the president at this stage? I mean, 6, 7, obviously you had too many in 2012.
Right.
Have you got about the right number now that are mulling it?
Yeah, somewhere between 5 and 10.
5 and 10.
Yeah.
You're comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Do you put Governor Walker on that list?
Of course.
And Congressman Ryan?
Of course.
The fact that we have 2 potential presidential candidates from Wisconsin, at some point, doesn't one of them have to decide which one's going to run, or can 2?
One's going to have to decide who's going to be the presidential nominee and who's going to be the vice presidential nominee.
Okay.
Great ticket, right?
Right.
Whether it's Walker Ryan or Ryan Walker.
Chuck, the RNC is, as you said, reasserting control of the process here. Do you think that will result in fewer debates or no debates? In other words, do you think your terms that the committee lays down will not be acceptable to the Democrats or some potential sponsoring organizations? Mr. King.
Well, when you say to the Democrats,
to the Democratic...
This is a Republican process. These are only debates during the Republican process.
And I apologize, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, like I said, we've already talked to most of the prospective nominees, and they've expressed their support of it. So, yeah, I don't see any problems.
Lessons you as an RNC member learned from Mr. Romney's campaign, excuse me.
One, that we have to move up our nominating convention. The fact that the presumptive winner, Romney, was such in May. We didn't officially nominate him till the latter part of August, almost Labor Day. There was a 3-month period when we could not give him money. the Republican National Committee. He wasn't the official nominee.
Okay.
And it left the summer open, and he had to borrow money to continue to fund his campaign.
So if it were up to you, your party would have a nominee by what date?
End of June.
End of June. Do you want to be on the panel that is going to be created when the RNC meets this next week?
The the standing debate committee?
Yes.
I would like to, but I've got enough things going on that I'm vice chairman of the RNC. As such, I share with Mary Bustrin the vice chairmanship of the Midwest region. And as such, we will elect 2 people from each region. There's 4 regions.
Yes.
We'll elect, assuming this becomes the rule, we'll elect 2 people, a man and a woman from each region. That's 8. And Reince will be able to appoint 5 from the committee.
Okay.
So I don't anticipate running to become the man from the Midwest region, only because a bit of a conflict. I'm vice chair of the Central or the Midwest region.
Yes, I understand. Well, maybe final question. How do you feel about your party's prospects in November gaining the Senate, sir?
I feel partially or potentially optimistic, I guess. The math would
Yes.
seem to work our way.
Right.
But the 6 months that remain between now and then is like a lifetime in politics, and,
Yes.
and a lot can happen. A couple of the states that would seem to be vulnerable could change. If the president were to do something with the pipeline and things like that, he could do some things maybe to change the outcome of some of those. But today, as we sit here,
Yes.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
And then this is my final question. In the most recent polls, Governor Walker has been up 47-48. He hasn't hit the magical 50. Are you worried, Steve?
No, I'm not worried at all. There's other numbers, there's other math behind some of those numbers that give me some confidence that, everything being equal as it pretty much is today, that Scott will be reelected.
Steve King, member of the Republican National Committee from Wisconsin. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Good luck to you guys.
Thank you.